Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to kind of start a build series on this 36 Ford Roadster. This is a complete build, so we're going to kind of walk around it. I'll break down how we start these jobs and what we plan to do. This is our first project for this customer. He contacted me probably a year and a half ago, honestly, and just was kind of trying to get to know us. He'd never had a car built, so that was the whole process for him to understand what that looks like. And he came up here, got to know us a little bit. He actually trailered the car up here, so I was able to look at it in person and talk to us some more. So really an ideal start to it, just getting to meet him in person and show him around the shop and see what we do. Ironically, I had a conversation with him one day and he was telling me about his inspiration for this project. And he had this green 4-door convertible 36 on his wall that he'd taken out of a Good Guys magazine. He said he cut the picture out of the magazine, put it on his wall in his garage, and he was telling everybody, I want my car to look like that. And he's telling me this story, and I'm thinking to myself, wait, we built a green 4-door convertible 36. I mean, there's not a lot of those cars out there. So I start asking him more questions about the car. Sure enough, it's the car that we built 4 or 5 years ago. He didn't even have us connected to that car, and he already got a hold of us. So it just brought this thing full circle, and he was like, all right, you guys are the guys. He got on our schedule. So that took about a year. He was on our schedule. He had already gotten the chassis. He had already had some of those things figured out. So it was just kind of a waiting game at that point. Talked off and on about the project, and he'd send me pictures and go to shows and get more inspiration. So it's all worked out really good. But that was a pretty cool story. I've never seen it come all the way around like that. So it's fun to see those things start to happen as more and more of our work's out there and time goes on. Kind of now getting into the car itself and where we're at with it and where we're going to go. Mike had already purchased the chassis. So he knew that he wanted to go with an Art Morrison. That entails a little bit more work than a lot of the other bolt-on options for these, because the Art Morrison is like wheelbase, track width, frame rails. It's got all the good stuff, but it doesn't have any body mounts. And that's the same way we did that 4-door convertible. In the 4-door convertible situation, that car had no chassis available for a bolt-on. This car does have chassis available for a bolt-on, but what we do get from the Art Morrison is, one, a really high quality chassis, and we can control a little bit more things like the stance, how the body sits on the frame, how the tire sits in the opening. We kind of can finagle some of that stuff a little bit more, where the engine goes. So it's a toss-up, you know, it just depends on what you want to do with the car and what makes the most sense for that project. A lot of applications and most everything we do is a bolt-on. This one's not going that direction for a couple different reasons. That was already predetermined before we even started, but a great foundation all said and done. This car is really pretty original. Obviously this is a small block Chevy in it. He had this done years ago when he was just kind of starting to get to know the car, figure out if he wanted to keep it basically. So he had somebody put this in. He was able to cruise it around a little bit, but the rest of the chassis is stock. By stock, I mean suspension, no good. Steering, like literally you can see the frame rail moving, pizza cutter, little tires, just 1936. Nothing about that is acceptable for today. And like I've said on previous videos, you go buy a brand new $40,000 car and it's gonna drive amazing. What everybody is comparing these cars to, driving 70 miles an hour down the highway, to this is night and day. A lot of what we do is moving these cars closer to that type of a driving experience. When we get into these cars, we take a ton of pictures. So we'll go around the car, take a picture of all the door gaps. It's so easy for us to take pictures and document them when we're organized so that we can always reference them. We always reference them, and I swear every time we're always like, we should have got one more picture because it could save us time down the road. So pictures of the gauges, pictures of the door gaps, pictures of stuff as it comes apart, the car as a whole, any little damages that we notice that we can pre-plan for, any previous repairs. And really this thing is incredibly solid. It seems to be a really good starting point. We noticed some rust down in the lower quarters. That's pretty normal stuff. The rumble seat was all there and seemed to be in pretty good shape, which these rumble seats are really cool. It's the same thing that was in that 33 we did a video of a few YouTube videos back, was this back trunk folds up this way and creates a seat back there, which is where the only place for your passenger goes because there is no back seat in this car. But it's incredible how much space is in that footwell in these cars. When that thing's opened up, you can see a little bit of the function that people use these for. Some of them were like a traveling salesman, not this car in particular, but that was how they were used. So having that trunk space was really good. We noticed little things like here's a little rust bubble. That's just the rust starting to push through the paint. Not that big of a deal. It's all stuff that can be fixed, but it's just nice to know what's on there before we get into it. We also run it up in the air, take pictures of the underside, take notes of anything like that. And on this car, we decided to take the interior out first. So That all comes up, reveals what's under the floor. All the undercoating needs to be stripped. Just a lot of prep work that we're basically working our way towards getting it stripped. So we're considering having this one dipped, which is where the whole car is dipped in acid to strip it. And that allows the entire car to be stripped in the places that like a sandblaster couldn't. It's also a little bit easier on the metal. We've had a lot of issues over the years off and on of sandblasting damaging the sheet metal. So it can apply so much pressure to the panel that it actually stretches the panel, and then we have to correct it and shrink it back down. So it's a bunch of work. So yeah, I'm interested to see if we decide to do that or where that goes. To step back a little bit, another thing we gain with the Art Morrison chassis is some rigidity. These cars are known for what's called cowl shake, where the entire cowl as you're going down the road moves, and that movement comes from the frame flexing, from the front suspension. Everything's moving side to side going down the road at certain road conditions or whatever, and you feel that cowl shake. So the Morrison chassis is going to dramatically help that. They're much beefier rails and strength there. With that cowl shake and just the movement overall in the body, when you look at this, being a Roadster, there is nothing connecting here to here. So all that you have is this little bit of sheet metal. And like, this is just sitting right on the frame. This is the only structure in this body is right through here. So when these things come off the frame, they are very flimsy. And you can imagine these frames are not the most rigid either. So going down the road, this door, you can see how that's not really working well in the first place, but the doors popped open on them before. Obviously something needs to be addressed. But that's just due to the flex of everything. So we're gonna tighten up gaps, we're gonna level things out and even everything out. And so it's challenging on these cars to make sure that that all works out and stays where we put it too, because they are so flimsy. So when we go to lift the body off of this frame, we'll put door bars, we'll tie like a piece of square tube or something into the hinge pocket here and probably into the latch here, and probably run some stuff across there, maybe even an X, so that we don't distort any of the body as it's coming off. Because once it's off, it's nothing but kind of flimsy sheet metal, to be honest with you. And wood. This is all wood framed through there, in the back, everything. So this is some old school, you know, type of construction where they would have hammered these over and literally nailed them in place all throughout. Not sure yet what we're going to do about the wood structure in this body, if anything. Some guys will take it all out and replace it with metal. Some guys will just replace it. Yeah, not sure yet, but it's kind of nice not having windows to deal with, which is crazy because this is how this was. Originally, there was no door glass in this car. It's a full Roadster. They did have like a little side window curtain that you could snap on. Pretty cool that they were still doing this in 36. I'm really excited about this project. He's talking about chopping it. It'll be a fendered car, running boards and everything. So they just get long. We're gonna lower it, chop top. There's just, it's gonna have a really, really awesome look. Not sure exactly what we're gonna do for an engine yet. He's leaning towards changing it to an automatic car. Not totally set on that yet. Gonna definitely do some sort of modern engine and transmission in it. Yeah, working through a lot of those details. It's pretty fun. Nice to start on a new project, and it's gonna be a good one. We've been excited about this one. We got the chassis out back too and some of the body panels. We can go check those out. So this is the Art Morrison chassis for the 36 Ford Roadster project. It's got, you know, all of their usual stuff, rack and pinion, independent front suspension, coilovers, all the tried and true components, stuff we've worked with a lot. Like I said before, this does not have any body mounts for it. We'll have to go through and, you know, build stanchions off to mount the body. The body mounts directly to the frame in a lot of places, so we'll be building all of that stuff. Probably gonna have to build either an entire rear floor or most of the rear floor, because this hump in it is what allows us to get the axle lower and lower, make the car sit lower. Yeah, a good 4-bar setup. It's nice they punch holes in this already for our exhaust to pass through. The rear end differential, brake parts, everything. Just kind of showed up with a car and a pile of parts. Good foundation. And then over here is all the loose body parts, just kind of as we take them off, spread them out and start to get them prepped to go to sandblaster or dipping. You can see it's all steel and it's really solid. We're actually gonna stick with this same color, which I'm excited about. I kind of like the originality of it. Yeah, good parts. Very difficult to find some of this stuff, so it's a good place to start. And these hoods are really cool if you're not familiar with them, how they butterfly up. Very similar to that 34 that we put together. These are originally, you'd have horns behind them, so this is a horn grill, but most everybody puts a turn signal behind it now because there's not any other regular front markers on these. So we're gonna tuck the bumpers in a little bit tighter, but leave both front and rear bumpers on. You can tell a 36, well, there's a whole bunch of cues from a 36 to a 35, but one of the big things is the hood sides. Like my grandpa's car is a 35. You can see that in a couple of videos. The side of the hood has a totally different louver system, and the 36s have the 3 bars. Yeah, it's kind of a telltale sign. The grill's different as well, but that's always what catches my eye when distinguishing between them. So once everything's been bagged and tagged and parts have been sent out to be sandblasted or stripped, probably the next thing we'll do is get the chassis and the jig table. The jig table is just basically a level plumb table that we have that we can mount the chassis into and get it sitting exactly how we want. It gives us a place to measure off of when we're setting the body up, a place to make sure the body is square to itself. That will also involve setting the motor and the tranny in, because we have to figure out the firewall. We'll definitely do a different firewall on this. They make a firewall that's like a small block Chevy firewall. You can see obviously this does not have it because there's no room for that distributor. It's jammed right into the firewall. So that gives you a notch here and a little bit more room in the transmission tunnel. We'll be kind of considering that as it goes on the new chassis and just setting right over the top. So that's pretty cool to see. That whole car will be up on that table. That's where the bulk of that work will be done. Forklift the thing in there, set it on, level it out, cut floor, lower it down, cut a little more, lower it down. We have these huge pieces of plywood basically that we'll put on to imitate the wheels. So these are actually, I cut these out years ago for the 4-door convertible, and that's the stance and the wheel fit that he wants. So I'm just gonna use those same ones again. I can't believe I kept them. So we'll set those on there. We'll be able to get the body over there, position everything, and it's just gonna be a game. So that'll be pretty fun to see in future videos as we get to that point. Mike wants to chop the top on this. I'm sure we could figure it out, but I've never done it. So if you've done it, or you know somebody that does, or a good resource to learn how, drop a comment, let us know, because we're gonna have to do it. And I'm excited to do it, but just never done it. We're gonna lower the windshield a little bit. You gotta cut these bows to get them all down, but you also have to cut them in a way that the top will fold down still. So it's about kind of knowing where to cut and where you can take some out. Flattening this section out. They look so much sleeker and streamlined when they're chopped. So that's gonna be a really, really cool addition to this car project. And this car actually got juice brakes too. 36, I think, was the first year. So it has hydraulic brakes. Top notch. Because before, like the 35 would have had linkage that would push on everything and activate basically what looks like a leather strap inside the drums to push them out. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check back as we go through this whole build, kind of as a little mini series, if you will. If you liked it, like it. If you had a question, ask it, and stay tuned for more. Mini series over 2 years.